Huh. Right, good morning, everyone. Right, listen, guys, I'm just realizing that the light isn't right in here. Am I missing something? Okay, right, we are just going to have to, let me see if I can do this. Right, we're just going to have to go with this, ladies and gentlemen. So, been a wild one today, guys. It's been absolutely wild. The this storm that we're getting in the United Kingdom, it's been blasted. I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of an update because last night we had to leave the live stream earlier. The wind's blowing in a different direction, and we've got this like massive storm coming. The wind was blowing in a different direction, and the water was hitting one of the windows that never usually gets hit with water because the wind normally blows west to east. It's now blowing east to west. Anyway, so we had like a slow leak coming in through the windows. When it's this wet, you can't do anything. You can't put sealant around it. It's just too wet. It won't stick. It's just a waste of time. So what I had to do is I had to go and get a 2x1 batten. Put the 2x1 batten above the window and then bolt on some waterproof sheets to totally cover the window. Anyway, it was an absolute faff, ladies and gentlemen. But listen, guys, let's get on to this because an emergency has been declared in the United Kingdom, major incident declared, and we are getting reports from Ukraine that NATO is not ready to fight this war, basically. So I'm just going to jump onto that. Let me turn the chat on. Good morning, everybody. Listen, guys, we really are in it this morning with this. Really are in it this morning with this rain. So where are we? So there was an article yesterday from a young lady in Ukraine. Do you know what? We will play this video, actually. We will play this video. Hang on, let me get rid of the ads. Where's the ads? Right. Do you know what? Maybe we won't play the video. So the headline is How to Fight in Hell. Ukrainian veterans say NATO is not ready for the war with Russia. Frontline medics and soldiers near Kramatorsk. Hang on, let me get this. I've not watched this video, guys. So let's... can we do that? Let's watch this together. Let's see what happens. This may be epically wrong, but we'll watch this video together. I've not seen this video. Let's share it.
It's difficult for me to imagine that another country could be prepared for this kind of war without having the experience or even the insight that Ukraine has.
Let's not be coy about it. We are in some kind of war already with Russia. They are attacking us with cyber.
So I've been saying this for a while, guys, okay? We're already in some kind of war. We're already in a war. Just because those bombs and bullets and missiles have not been flying down on us in the United Kingdom doesn't mean that we are not in some sort of conflict with the Russians. And I've said this all along. I don't think we are going to see that type of conflict here in the United Kingdom. We are going to see more of the same asymmetric warfare, things blowing up, things being set on fire, cyber attacks. That's the new era of warfare.
Operations. They are trying to and have been undermining the democratic processes in the West. And of course, they're conducting a full-scale war against Ukraine, a nation that is on our most eastern flank, right up against the Russians. But they are also conducting penetrations of NATO airspace as part of probing operations. All of this is adding up to a sense that perhaps fairly soon we may actually have to confront Russian troops on the ground. And in that context, there's a lot to learn from Ukraine. But I've been speaking to Ukrainians and other international volunteers on the ground who are operating against the Russians, and they are telling me that NATO forces and British forces within that have a long way to go before they incorporate the lessons that are being learned on the battlefields of today.
So what I'm going to leave it there, guys, okay? Because that's quite a long video, and I want to keep I want to keep this flow moving forwards. But as we're moving forwards now with this conflict in Ukraine, more people are coming out and just repeating what I've said a long time ago. You know, here in the West, we're not ready. It's not a win for NATO right now, guys, unless NATO makes some drastic changes. Now, the problem is, I don't believe NATO will make drastic changes because you've got to understand the structuring of this organization. First of all, NATO's, what is it, like 37? I don't know. It's a lot of different nations that come together. Now, each one of those different nations have a different objective. They have different budgets. They have different military capacity. They have different military objectives. Now, trying to get them to unify under one clear goal is going to be virtually impossible because there's always going to be some scheming politician who wants to make a few quid. There's always going to be some scheming politician who wants to get themselves elected or hold on to power. And basically, guys, you can boil that down to a nutshell. There's always going to be some scheming politician. So, like I've always said on this channel, ladies and gentlemen, I've said this from day one, literally from day one. It's not a win for NATO without the United States. And this article from the, what was that? I think it was the Telegraph. Yeah, this article from the Telegraph is saying literally exactly what I've been saying, although they are using slightly different words, but the meaning is the same. NATO is not ready to fight this war yet. The NATO are not ready. And actually, in fact, can I let you guys into a little secret? I think this would be okay. I think this would be okay saying this. I did some work yesterday. I did some, so, you know, some paid work. I did some work yesterday, some consultancy. Do you know what? Yeah, I think it's fair. I can say this. So last night I did some paid work yesterday. And in that consultancy that I was given, one of the things I said, and they chat, and guys, you guys are getting this all for free. You guys are getting all this all for free. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification, guys, okay? Hit that bell notification and all those things that help this channel grow. So last night I was giving some consultancy, and one of the things I was saying is this area that nobody's looking at yet is how to fight a conscript war. And when I said this to the group, everybody was at shock. Like, everybody in the group was, they said, what do you mean, Sean? I said, well, guys, look, let's be clear. All right, the Russians are using conscripts. At some point, the numbers don't add up. And I went into depth about how the numbers don't add up. I shared with them, I literally shared with them the same video I shared with you guys, the video of the guys going into Pokrovs. And I said, look, guys, okay, this is how the Russians are operating. If you think how a NATO military is operating, with all the logistic support, it becomes almost untenable to operate that way. So this is the way you've got to fight now. You've got to be able to just push conscripts forwards and say, right, okay, you guys push that way, keep going, do what you want. And that's going to be a new dynamic of warfare. That's going to be a new battle on the modern battlefield. And it sounds like we're going back, and we are going back. We're literally going backwards now. All the technology, like I keep saying, guys, okay? Like, oh, Donna's gifted 1 membership. Thank you, Donna, for gifting a membership. Donna's gifted a membership to someone. Who got Donna's membership? Who got... Oh, Claire got Donna's membership. Claire, click claim. I don't know. I don't know, but I think Donna's... I don't know what's happening. Let me go on with this, guys, okay? So, sorry, hang on. Let me take that down. Thank you, Donna, for the gift. So, when I was briefing these guys, I was talking to them, and these were pretty high-level guys. And when I was briefing these guys last night, they were saying to me, yeah, Sean, that is something we've not even considered. I said, I know you've not considered it because nobody has. Nobody's considered this yet. And this is one of the main problems, guys, okay? Here at NATO forces, NATO troops, we are not ready to fight the Russians. Because I've done this to death, guys, okay? Because the Russians are using a conscript army. Turns out now there's a new article in the Telegraph, and we just shared a video. NATO is not ready for a war with Russia. And I agree. I agree. There are too many lessons to be learned. There's too much nuance in this conflict. you can't fight conscripts the same way as you fight a conventional army. So let me tell you what happens in a conventional army, okay, guys? So British military, for example, US military operates pretty much the same. Yeah, most militaries operate pretty much the same, and I'll try and paint a broad picture here, guys. Okay, so just imagine the scene. All right, imagine like an open field or whatever battlefield you guys want me to imagine. We'll use a countryside because it's easier to describe. So you've got countryside. You've got the NATO forces on this side, and they're pushing forwards, and you've got your infantry at the front, and their job is to close with and kill the enemy. As soon as they see those bad guys, they start shooting. Everybody starts shooting. So you will have your point section. They will go down. Let's consider they're going one up. So you've got one section at the front and two sections at the rear. Easier for navigation. Let's just say you're moving forwards. Your point section takes the contact. All right. So they take a contact. They take cover. They return fire. They return appropriate fire. They're in the firefight then. Now, in that context, your platoon commander then, he needs to take a battle assessment. So your platoon commander needs to make his way up to the front to that point section. Your platoon commander takes a look and he's like, right, okay, so we've got this, we've got that, right, okay, we're going to go right flanking or whatever. So he says, right, okay, one section, you stay here, put down suppressing fire. Two section, you're on assault. And three section, you guys are going to be reserve. Right, so then they move, and this is a process that takes a while. Now you can imagine if that's just two conscripts in a car, how long this battlefield is going to take, how much ammunition is going to be expended, and this is what I keep saying, when that attrition rate has been done, because now you've expended half of your ammunition. You've expended, maybe you've taken casualties. Who knows? Maybe you've taken casualties. And what have you achieved? You've had 30 men pinned down by maybe two conscripts with a PKM. And this is what people don't understand. People don't understand how these battles are going to be fought, and people don't understand how these battles are going to be won and lost. Initially, yes, of course, that platoon, it's better equipped, it's better trained, it has a higher degree of go on, what's the word I'm looking for? Motivation. They're highly motivated. So they will push forwards. But okay, right. So let's go with that scenario. Okay. So that in that scenario, that platoon, 30 guys or just shy, whatever. If you've got attachments, maybe a dog or whatever, drone operator, whatever, just call it 30 people. It's easy to visualize. Oh, but Sean, the platoon, stop it. All right. I'm generalizing. So now your platoon of 30 men have expended half of their ammunition. Maybe they've taken some casualties. I would say they have taken at least a couple of casualties. And what have they achieved? They've cleared a position with two conscripts. Those conscripts probably didn't cost as much to deploy those conscripts as it did the amount of ammunition that's just being used. Okay, so now that platoon, they've got half the ammunition. Okay, so now that platoon's got half the ammunition. All right, so they keep moving forward. Right, okay, we've got to keep pushing. Okay, then you find another two conscripts. Oh, whoa, okay, right, well, we used all. Right, guys, we need to calm this ammunition down. So now the guys are not shooting as much because they don't want to expend that much ammunition. You don't shoot as much, you're going to take more casualties. So you've got a higher attrition rate now. Okay, so we've got like a quarter of the ammunition left now. Okay, right, can we get a resupply? And this is, and nobody understands this, guys. Like, literally, nobody understands how this is going to work. People are not even considering this. People think that when these forces come to meet, there's going to be decisive battles. It's not going to be decisive battles. It's going to be a slow retreat by the Russians, but a huge attritional rate by NATO forces over time. And then you know what's going to happen? When the NATO forces run out of ammunition, when they can't get the 5.56, when they can't get the special caliber ammunition because this special rifle, it's been sold to them by BAE Systems and they're giving it the most fantastic trajectory and the barrel and the weighting and everything's perfect. Yeah, do you know what happens when you can't get that ammunition? And because the NATO forces are following the law of armed conflict, do you know what happens? They grind to a halt. But you know who doesn't grind to a halt? The land pirates. That's what I'm going to call them, guys. I'm going to look at the land pirates. The Russian land pirates. They don't grind to a halt. No. They don't grind to a halt because they're stealing kit and equipment. Sorry, I think stealing is the wrong word to use. They're reappropriating battlefield losses. They're reappropriating battlefield losses. So now you've got this situation where these guys are moving forward at pace now because they're using civilian vehicles. And if you're using a civilian vehicle, you kind of don't really need a special part from the manufacturer because the manufacturer says, oh, if you only use manufactured parts unless the warranty's void. So you're like, all right, okay, so the Land Rover, right, okay, so we need this little bolt now for a Land Rover wheel. And we're not allowed to use another bolt for a Land Rover wheel because then the warranty will be void on the Land Rover because then because the Land Rover basically want to make as much money as possible. But you know what? If that happens to the Russians, the conscripts, they just get another vehicle. Yes, of course, use any bolt. It's crazy. Well, let's just go, guys. And this is what nobody's talking about, guys, okay? So we are going to come to this this crescendo pretty soon. Anyway, let me continue, guys. I'm going to give a couple of couple of paragraphs, and then we will jump onto the chat, and then I will jump on to the major incident that's been declared in the United Kingdom. So Ukrainian intelligence is warning that a Russian Lancet drone is prowling at the skies, loitering above Kramatorsk, sorry. I've been there. It was very cold. Like a heron poised over a fish pond ready to strike. A laptop shows multiple screen images of medics racing around through shredded forest. Russian soldiers in Ukrainian sight. Bunkers being blown up, daily terror. This is the future of war. The West is not ready for what may be coming. Mass casualties, a transformation of the battlefield beyond anything NATO's armies are training for. Ladies and gentlemen, like, how many times have I said this? I need to send this article to her. Right, somebody at the end of this live stream, send me, somebody at the end of this live stream, tell me, remind me, I need to send this to Greg. I need to send this article to Greg. You know, this is literally highlighting everything I've been saying on the live streams, guys. It really is. It's highlighting absolutely everything. Right, let me jump onto the chat. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Wasn't it wet last night? And isn't it still wet? Isn't it still wet? Right, let me jump up. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Right, okay. Lots of guys, there's so much stuff on the chat. Hang on. Sorry, guys, I'm just jumping over the chat. Alfie is saying, I always make sure I've got my scavenger perk to resupply ammo. Donna Hook, I'm assuming. Yes, I don't Hook. Oh, guys, I found a chimney in our right, guys. I know this is wild and this is totally off topic. Last night when I was doing repairs to the house, I found a disused chimney in the at the side of the house. Anyway, that's totally a little side topic. Donna Hook is saying, why don't the Russians just parachute into Ukraine over the river Dnipro? Oh, Dnipro. I think you mean the river Dnipro, and take both sides. So the aircraft would get shot down. The aircraft would 100% get shot down. And Debbie Doobs is saying, is there any bodies in the chimney? I hope not. I hope there's no bodies in the chimney. Liquid Avenue is saying, approved food is a great website for real cheap food and drink. Right, listen, guys, okay, if people are, look, guys, I'm certainly not the best person to tell you where to, like, get your long storage food and water from. What I would say is, like, just rice and, like, whatever lasts longest, rice and tinned food. There is a sell-by date on tinned food. I don't really bother with that sell-by date, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of like just pay lip service to it. There's a YouTube channel. I can't remember what it's called. It's this guy basically, and he gets like really old military rations and he opens them and he like eats them, and it's a bit wild. You know, he says he's totally fine. Donna is saying Al Jazeera, Russia warns NATO against joining Ukraine after deadly strikes. Look, guys, we know this is coming, right? We all know this is coming. I've been saying to you guys for the longest time, it's not a win. More news articles are coming out now saying it's not a win. You know, that NATO needs to change massively, and they do. They need to change massively. Right, in fact, you know what? I can send this to Greg now. Give me a second. Copy. Let me open. Sorry, guys. I'm just conscious I need to send this to someone. If I'll put it on the group chat. Not that one. In fact, that one might be. Oh, I did it in caps as well. Oh, God, they're gonna think I'm being a right douche. Right, okay, sorry about that, guys. I just had to do a little bit of work. Yeah, look, guys, you know, we know what's coming. Germany know what's coming. Everybody knows what's coming. If you listen to the mainstream media, they will tell you it's not coming. They will tell you, you know, you're just scaremongering, or nothing's happening. Or if you had, if you ask David Lammy, he'll say, we have no. Can you imagine? Like, look, guys, can you imagine right now? Can you imagine if you're in the military and you get deployed and David Lammy deploys you? He's like, right, guys, off to war. Oh, God. This could be the breaking news of the day. David O'Rourke is saying, let me check this out, guys. Wow, I did right. Let me. I'm reading this in the real time, guys. Okay, so Iran forces seize oil tanker after it passes the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian forces have seized an oil tanker sailing in the Gulf of Oman, diverting the vessel towards the country's territorial waters on Friday. I'm trying to find out more about this. Excuse me. So the IRGC seizes a Singapore-bound oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz, diverts it towards Iran. Earlier on Friday, the United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations Agency said it had received a report of an incident 20 nautical miles east of United Arab Emirates Kfar Fakan. I think I'm pronouncing that right. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps forces intercepted an oil products tanker and diverted it into Iranian territorial waters on Friday. A U.S. official and maritime security forces source said. The first reports of Tehran seizing a tanker since Israel-U.S. strikes on Iran in June. The Marshall Islands flag tanker Talarara has been sailing off the United Arab Emirates coast. Maritime sources said it was carrying a cargo of high sulfur gasoline. I wonder what high sulfur gasoline is. Unprocessed, I'm going to assume. Through the Indian Ocean en route to Singapore. Okay. U.S. officials speaking on condition of anonymity said the incident was surprising because Iran, known for intercepting ships in the Gulf in the past, has not carried out such operations in recent months. So just for you guys who don't know why the Strait of Hormuz is... Can I get it on this map? Let me just have a quick look. Can I get it on this map? Or will it? It doesn't give me... Oh, no, it might do. Hang on. It doesn't. I was just going to do the war map, but it doesn't give me. So the significance of this, 20% of the world's oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. You know what? Let me get this up. Let me get this up real quick. Where are we? Right, let me share this with you. So with this tanker being seized in Iran, with this tanker being seized in Iran, what people don't understand is 20% of the world's oil goes through this little choke point, which is massively controlled by the Iranians. So this is what we're talking about here, guys. Okay, so you can see all these oil-rich producing regions. You've got United Arab Emirates. You've got Oman there, but like the Oman doesn't really affect them. You've got Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Iraq, and Iran. Now, obviously, you guys can see Iran there highlighted in orange. If you look just on the south coast of Iran, I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, but there's like a little peninsula just north of the United Arab Emirates, right there around Dubai. That's the that is the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the Strait of, and I don't know if you can see my cursor, but also on the western edge where my cursor is now, again, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but on the western edge, on the southwestern edge of the Iranian coastline, there's a little island called Karg Island. It's Karg or Kargigi Island, depending on what map you're looking at. Now, that little island, that has a huge gas oil separation plant, and most of the hydrocarbons from Iran, I would say like 80% of the hydrocarbons from Iran are processed there. Just as a little side note, that is a massive strike point, and I think once someone strikes that little island there, all Iran's gas oil production and their processing plants, they're dilly swizzled, guys. They are absolutely swizzled. Anyway, back to the Strait of Hormuz. So all the oil from the Persian Gulf basically has to travel through this choke point. Now, at some point, I believe the Iranians will close down that Strait of Hormuz, and by doing so, they will then dictate where 20% of the world's oil goes. Now, those of you guys who don't know, there was also on that region, obviously, you've got Saudi Arabia. What people kind of don't know this, or they just forget about it. But back in before the 7th of October attacks happened in Israel, there was an agreement signed between Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Israel. Excuse me. Now, this was to create a land corridor. So now, if you can imagine where Kuwait is on the top, like in the middle of that map, just south of Kuwait through Jordan, there was going to be a proposed land corridor where they would take goods and products, i.e. oil, from the Persian Gulf and then ship them via train lines all the way up to Jordan, through Israel, to the Mediterranean Sea. Now, what that would have done in essence is it would have just totally closed Iran's influence in that region, because now, because in that context, even if Iran did close the Strait of Hormuz, people would say, oh, you've closed the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, fine. I'm just going to go on this land corridor now because I don't have to pay the taxes for you guys. And it may be a better route if you're selling to Europe. Which is one of the reasons I believe the Iranians put pressure on the Palestinians, Hamas, to do their operation in Israel. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, sorry. As we're speaking, then there's been as it says on the screen, there's been an oil tanker taken in the Strait of Hormuz. So if this is a sign of things to come, you can see the oil price going up. Sorry, guys, I went on a little bit of a side quest then. Emma Green is saying, Sean, I saw a video of someone videoing outside a legal hotel, and on the back of their jackets it said army on it. I wouldn't put too much into that. A lot of people, wear stuff that says army. Although I did see an Afghan guy, like in full Afghan military uniform. And he was telling people, yeah, I'm soldier, I'm professional soldier. I was like, wow, that's fantastic. Right, let me just jump down, guys, and then I'll jump onto the Right, guys, listen, if I'm missing anyone's comments, I do oh, hang on. Millie Mono is saying, not wanting to be the voice of doom, but am I getting the feeling we are in the literal? I think we are as well. You know, listen, I would say that, yes. Somebody said it the other day on the chat. They said, why does locking up at night feel like you're locking up for the purge? And I was like, yeah, that is exactly what it feels like. You know, it absolutely feels like that. Look, we have got battlefields on so many different regions right now. If you live in the United Kingdom, don't think that these battles are not going to be thrusted upon us. Because if you live in the United Kingdom, we have masses of uncontrolled migration. And who do you think's controlling that, guys? You know, who do you think's controlling that? Whatever's coming, whether people call it a third world war, whether people call it limited military conflicts, whatever it is, guys, okay? It's going to make the First and Second World War look like kids fighting in a playground. Liquid Avenue is saying, when the power goes off and your freezer starts thawing, have a cookout and give all the food away that's thawing. Make friends early. Good advice. Good advice. Donna's saying the first 72 hours of an attack is important for people who can't get out. Blockade your doors and windows if you are prepped. Get away from the windows and stay in a close area where movements can't be seen. Yeah, I think I've done these videos before, guys. I think I'm going to do one tonight. Right, I'm just going to jump down. Right, ladies and gentlemen, so we've got the conflict in Ukraine. You know, the Ukrainians are now saying that NATO are not ready to fight this war. NATO are not ready for World War III, which is echoing what I've been saying, which is literally what I was like. I was doing a consultation last night, and this is exactly what I told them. I said, look, guys, you need to consider how to fight a war with conscripts. Now, I don't know if they took my advice or not, but one of the things that people don't, you know, but you get this arrogance. You know, you get this. Is it arrogance? Well, you need an air of arrogance. You do. You need an air of arrogance. You know the Kruger curve, the Dunning-Kruger curve. So it goes up. So it's competency. What is it? What? Somebody help me out. What's the Dunning-Kruger curve? It's competency. No, I know what it is. It's competency over time. So the Dunning-Kruger curve, it's like a graph. And the graph goes really high, which is confidence over time. So when you're learning a subject, like if you're in the military, you learn, I don't know, section attack or whatever, platoon attack, you know, your confidence goes really high because you think you know everything. You think you know everything. You're like, boom, I know everything. I know everything. You know, I am the best. I've got all the confidence. And then over time, you understand things that you don't know. You know, there are unknown unknowns. You start to understand that there are unknown unknowns. Like, how do you operate in these environments? There are more ways to skin a cat. There's asymmetric warfare. How do I deal with women? How do I deal with children? You know, so then your confidence starts to come down over time. And then your confidence slowly starts to go up as you get more competent. Anyway, sorry. So that's the Dunning-Kruger curve. Now, a lot of people in the military are quite high up in the initial phases in their Dunning-Kruger curve. And, you know, you kind of do need that. You don't need people second guessing themselves. But what I tried to communicate to those people I was speaking to last night is, look, guys, conscripts. They're not a lesser. It's not. And I'm even me, guys, since doing these live streams since 2022, since I've seen this more now, even me since 2022, I've changed my not tactically, but strategically, I've changed my opinion over conscripts. You know, people say that conscripts don't work, and if you force people to fight, you know, they turn on you, which is true. But the Russians understand this, And that's how the Russians are using them. And, you know, say what you want. Literally, guys, say what you want about how the Russians are. Say what you want about how the Russians are using conscripts. They're taking ground every day. Literally. In fact, let's go on to a warm up and then we'll jump onto the... Oh, it's not updated. Hang on. No, I don't think it's... I don't think the situation... Oh, it's... What are we on today? The 15th? Oh. Right, yeah. I think we're going to get a big... I think we're going to get big news today, guys, okay? Yeah, I think... Right, I'll show you what I'm saying. I'll show you what I'm looking at, ladies and gentlemen. So for those of you guys who know, I do this... You know, I use this warm-up. It's called Deep State Warm-Up. I know the guy who runs it. He's a good guy. I trust him. And what he does is every night at midnight, I think it's midnight Ukraine, he will update this. And if you guys look at the top left of this screen, so if you guys look at the top left of that screen, you guys can see the date, and the date is the 13th. Now, that date should be reading the 14th because we are on the 15th. So what that's saying to me is the map's not being updated. Now, I would say that the map's not being updated because they don't want this situation here to be known just yet. So let's just see what the front lines are. I think yesterday it was like 2.4 kilometers or something. Let's just see that. Yeah, 2.3. So it's not. So the map has not changed. So I would speculate that behind the scenes, they've been told, right, guys, don't update that map just yet because we don't want the whole world to find out that the town of Pokrovsk has fallen. But it's only a matter of time, guys, before that town falls. Right, I'm going to jump now on to a major incident that's been declared in the United Kingdom. So last night, listen, we got this as well. It was absolutely wild. Like, I can't believe how much rain fell last night. And the reason I'm saying this is because all that rain is in the ground, and that is now making its way to the lowest points. So the floods, any real floods will be hitting like, I'd say midday today, like 2, 3 o'clock, maybe 4, 5 o'clock today, because all that swell that's landed on the ground in the United Kingdom, all that water is naturally channeling its way to the lowest points, rivers basically. Now, that takes time to do that, and it's still raining now. That takes time for all that water to then channel into those rivers, and that's when the rivers swell. So even though it's the next day and the rain does seem to have died a little bit, the real threat from this is in the next couple of hours, sorry. So major incident declared after flooding in Wales as cold weather alert issued. 5 regions in England are being warned of a cold snap. UK, so we've got water, guys. Do you know what the good thing about this is? Honestly, guys, you know what the good thing about this is? You know these people, you know the bad guys that are in this country, they ain't going to want to come out when it's cold. I don't know if you guys have ever been to these countries when it's cold and wet. They are, you know, I'm on YouTube, I can say it. I'm on YouTube, guys, I can say it. What's the best example? So when I used to work in Baghdad, there was a camp called Camp Victory. There was a camp called Camp Victory. And what they did is, the Americans, they said, right, okay, instead of using US soldiers to do the perimeter security, we're going to hire in a private security company. And that private security then hired, I think they had Ugandans. I think they were Ugandans, and these Ugandans were on the doing the security, outer perimeter security. And when you used to drive into that camp, you know, the Ugandans would come out. But you know what? If it was raining, and it does rain quite heavy sometimes in Baghdad, these Ugandans would come out, and honestly, guys, I swear to God, they would have plastic bags with knots in them around their heads. They would have plastic bags in there, like you could see like blue plastic bags poking out of their boots. And if it was raining and you turned up, they wouldn't even come out. They wouldn't even come out and check you. It was too wet for them. You know, it's too wet for these guys. You know. And when I give, Danny Walker says I was on Camp Victory working with Americans. Yeah, so Camp Victory, it's in Baghdad. It's near the airport. Big camp, and they have it's closed down now. It used to be a cool camp. You could get all sorts of crazy stuff in there. Anyway, what I'm getting at, guys, is a lot of these people that are in our country right now as migrants, and some people would say, and I would agree with this, some people would say these migrants may be used as asymmetric soldiers. They don't want to play when it's cold and wet, ladies and gentlemen. But you know what? You know the Europeans, the Europeans of European stock. They don't have any problem with that. And I think, when people talk about military comparisons, that is one of... everybody wants to, when you're talking about militaries, everybody wants to think about kit and equipment and we've got these night vision goggles and we've got this rifle and we've got this pistol and we've got all this kit. What sets different militaries apart is their ability to operate. I've seen Gurkhas totally give up in when it's cold and wet. British people don't give up when it's cold and wet, and neither do Americans. I've not really worked with any other nations, only Brits and Americans. And the thing about Brits and Americans, they just don't give up. But it's cold, the rain blasting at you, and you're still operating. Other countries, other militaries they just fail. They really do fail. And weather is a massive contributor to military ops. It's a massive contributor. When I used to teach in where was I? I can't remember where I was. I was teaching somewhere. I remember the classroom. It was in Europe somewhere because they were Europeans. I can't remember where this was. And one of the things I was teaching people is, okay, right, before you go out on a patrol, you need to get the weather report. And they're like, oh, and they're all laughing. I was like, why are you laughing? And they're like, we will. I'm going to pretend the Russians. I can't remember where it was. We'll work whatever weather. I was like, all right, let's see this one. Honestly, I've never seen people give up. It was wet. It was cold. I had them up. I had them out all night. They just weren't used to it. They're not used to it. For a Western military, you're used to working in all weathers, in all conditions, day and night, and just keeping going. Anyway, sorry guys, I'm on a little bit of a side quest there. And Danny used to say, I used to go up and down Route Irish clearing it for IEDs. Did you have your fingers in your ears, Danny? Did you have your fingers in your ears and you was stamping? I once saw an Iraqi police officer shoot at somebody on Route Irish, and he fell. The Iraqi police officer fell over. Sean, can you please get Debbie Doobs' comment? Yes, I will. Sean, if an armed NUK on home soil is hit by a conventional bomb, No. Oh, right, okay. Sean, if an armed nuclear weapon on home soil is hit by a conventional bomb, would it explode? No, it wouldn't. Not at all. Not at all. To detonate with a mushroom cloud, to detonate one of those things? No, absolutely not. The real threat is the real threat is not the nuclear bombs. I would say, it's the nuclear power plants, because if a conventional attack hits the nuclear power plant, you can have something called a dirty bomb, which is you don't get you don't get the mushroom cloud, but you get a lot of radiation. And Donna Hook is saying English government, through an act of parliament, enabled the flooding of the Welsh village Cape Cleanfon and the something valley in 1965. The Tafts always copy. There was also an incident in after the Second World War. It was the same squadron. It was the Dambuster squadron that did it. They were testing whether so just for entertainment purposes only. They were testing the, I know I'm not on TikTok, but I may be getting things slightly wrong. The RAF were testing whether they could make it rain or not after the Second World War. And they tested, I think it might be like silver nitrate or potassium nitrate or something over the over a country, over a village in Devon, and the water level raised by like 15 meters. I think like 30 people lost their lives, and that was only recently discovered. Right, let me jump over to this, guys, this major incident. Okay, so major incident was declared after flooding in Wales as cold weather snap alert issued. 5 regions of England are being warned of a cold snap as the UK Health Security Agency says significant impacts are possible across health and social care services. So I'm trying to, where have they done this? I'm going to give you the regions now, guys. Right, it's not giving me the regions. It's just totally mugged me off. Right, I'm going to leave that out. Right, so there's a major incident declared in Monmouth, South Wales, by South Wales Fire and Rescue Service at around 1:30 a.m. with emergency services carrying out rescues, evacuations, and welfare checks. Here's the thing, guys, okay? Do we think, and look, this is total conspiracy now. This is total conspiracy. I'm going to ask a question. Oh, hang on. A further 8 flood warnings and 39 flood alerts have been issued, while 92 flood warnings and 994 flood alerts have also been issued across England and Wales. So here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, okay? I've just said to you, and I think we all know it anyway, that weather manipulation is real, all right? We know that weather manipulation is real. So do we think the bad guys are manipulating our weather? Do you think you would do that? I mean, I know I would do that if I could get away with it. Yeah, and then Donna Hook, Donna Hook saying exactly the same thing. You know, there must be weather weapons we don't know about. Absolutely, Donna, absolutely, absolutely, I would say that as well. Yeah, I think this is coming at some point very soon, guys. I think there's going to be an attack in Venezuela. I don't see how that can't happen right now with the amount of military they've put in and around that region. Remember, the Venezuelans have asked for military support from the Russians. The Venezuelans are also preparing themselves to fight an asymmetric war. I think this is going to be an absolute whitewash for the United States. I think the United States will get in there. They will get in there quick. They will achieve their objectives and they will get out. This is going to be totally different to what's happening in Ukraine. What's happening in Ukraine is you've got these conscripts who are fighting a non-conventional war, but they're learning every day. They're learning new tactics. They're learning new dynamics. They're learning a new way to push forwards. The Venezuelans have no idea what's coming. And the United States are going to move in there very hard. They're going to go very fast. They will seize their objectives. They will get what they need to do done, and then they will be gone. And it will be, they will be gone. It will be time for TM medals. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to have to close this down again early. Plane crash in Argentina. Right, I'm gonna have to get this. I'm gonna have to do this later, guys. Okay. I do have to leave early because I've got to take the kids to. I've got to take the kids somewhere, and I have to leave in like 12 minutes, and I'm still in my pajamas. But listen, guys, I'm gonna be back on later. I'll probably get on this afternoon and talk about this more, and I'll be putting videos on through the day. Just remember those things, guys. Okay, as the crux of this video. The Ukrainians now, who are like the subject matter experts in modern warfare, the Ukrainians are subject matter experts now in modern warfare. The Ukrainians are saying that NATO is not ready for World War III. And they're literally saying what I've said, but like months after. And also there's major incidents declared in the United Kingdom. The reason I'm saying that is because we had massive rain last night, guys, okay? And when that rain hits the ground, it takes time for those rivers to fill up because all the rain now, and it's still coming, will be hitting the ground and it'll be slowly making its way to the rivers. over time, that's going to raise that river level. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave this now. I am going to leave this now. I will be back on later. I do apologize. I'm having to cut it short, the last 2 live streams. Last night, we had water coming in through a sill in one of the windows, and that was an absolute faff. I had to go and put bolt on a waterproof sheet on the outside, and I've got to go and take the kids somewhere. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back on later. Thank you, Donna, for gifting the membership, and I'll see you guys later on.